There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with another tag. This is the Moody Book Tag. And it was created by Brittany at Slanted Spines in November of last year and just kind of showed up in my feed. I think I've seen other people do it, but I realize how much of a Sean the Book Maniac type of tag it is, and I also realize that most of my BookTube besties haven't done it. Although I'm not sure. I'm going to tag a whole bunch of people at the end. I'm finding the YouTube search function is so much less reliable than it used to be, so maybe a bunch of these people that I'm going to tag at the end of the video. I know the new cool thing is to tag people at the beginning, but I'm not cool or new, so I will tag people at the end, and I'll be curious as to how many of them have actually done it. But this tag just came onto my radar in the last few days, so here I go. And I know I wasn't tagged because I don't need to be. Number 1, do you consider yourself a mood reader? No, I consider myself a moody reader. In other words, I have strong reactions to books, and I don't usually let what I'm feeling before I open the book affect my reading of the book. I don't think it goes that way. But no, I am not a mood reader. However, if we go kind of a step up beyond mood and sort of mental, emotional headspace, heart space, if my life is in some kind of chaos, whether it's related to work or relationships, my reading goes out the window. So I was in about a 5-year reading slump, and I didn't come out of it until about 4 years ago, and it was after I met the love of my life and got into my first long-term relationship in many, many years. And then I could re-access my love of reading in a way that I haven't read since I was a much, much younger man. So that's how it's not like a mood from day to day or hour to hour, but where I'm at in my life and how I feel about my life, I can either read or not. And I notice when I haven't had very many big crises in my life recently, but small ones, and they do affect my reading. So, for example, at the beginning of the pandemic, I couldn't read nearly as much as I typically do and wasn't able to retain as much. So, emotions and reading are inextricably linked, as my answers to the rest of these questions will show, but not mood, not like I'm bored today or I'm happy today or I'm sad today. I don't relate to that level of being a mood reader. I'm going to talk about TBRs and pre-planned reading here in a bit, so I'll talk more about that aspect of things in a little bit. For example, number 2, do you set TBRs and do you stick to them? I do make TBRs, even if I don't make them on paper, even if I don't make a TBR video. I rarely do make a TBR video. I do, a lot of the time I'll make one if there's a readathon or something, but even if it's just mentally, I have a TBR always. I'm trying to be more spontaneous, but there's no way to get around the subversive aspect of the way that my mind works. For example, at the end of each year, I like to keep December aside for more spontaneous reading and not do so very many buddy reads and not do readathons and just pull books off my shelf and read them. But inevitably, what happens is that I have a whole mental TBR by November 1st for my December spontaneous reading. So I just do. And that's new since I got really back into obsessive levels of reading and social media, Litsy, Twitter, Goodreads, and especially BookTube, where I am just so obsessed with reading that I can't stop thinking about what my next read will be. And so I always have at least the next 5 planned out mentally, if not written down somewhere. And often so for example, I'm filming this at the end of March. My April TBR is completely set, and the spontaneous books that I am going to read for no reason other than I just want to read them, like they're not a buddy read, it's not for a readathon, that short list of maybe 5 or 6 books has been set for many days, maybe a couple weeks. So I am now, my mind is whirling, and I am so excited about thinking about my May TBR. What buddy reads do I have scheduled? What readathons? There's a whole bunch of readathons in May, and what else would I like to tackle in May? So yes, you can call me TBR Tammy. 3. Do books affect you emotionally? Does the mood of a book rub off on you? I am completely and utterly an emotional reader. I reject all other aspects of the reading experience as superfluous and suspect. Of course, become intellectually stimulated, but I have become a militant emotional reader as a way of recovering from grad school. I did an MA, and I hated it so much. I just reject all of that bullshit as bullshit. And of course, I'm probably offending people. It's not all bullshit. I still do have a small corner of my mind where I like to intellectualize and think about what I read from some kind of academic analysis point of view. But mostly, I loathe it. I reject it. I read books to find out if I like them and to let them affect me emotionally. And I don't care about anything else. And that is how I learned how to read again after being abused by grad school. So, yes, I am an emotional reader. And it's interesting because I am such an emotional reader that I can't read fiction that smacks of anything sentimental because I bring so much of my own emotion to it that I don't want to read anything that's emotionally manipulative or overly sentimental or cheap. Emotionally cheap, because I bring so much of my own that if there's any smarmy crap on the page, it's a early bail. Does the mood of a book rub off on you? Yes, but I think there's a question later about sad books. Sad books make me happy. What are happy books? They're certainly not books, unless it's something comic and light, and within certain parameters, I do like that sort of thing. I'm going to be talking about one in answer to another question. But 99% of what I read is serious literary fiction, and it is by definition sad. If it's a happy book, it's a genre fiction, and I hate genre fiction. I am an unapologetic book snob. I have recently rediscovered my love for children's literature. It's a real new thing. I think I try at least once a year, one or two genre fiction, but it doesn't usually go very well. I'm digressing from the question. Does the mood of a book? So, in other words, I read a lot of sad literary fiction, and it doesn't make me sad. It makes me happy. If it's beautifully expressed, like I can be moved by it, but still that is that is a joyful experience for me. The only book that I can think of where a tragic ending really, like, it just gutted me and knocked me off my feet is the Indo-Canadian novel A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mistry. The ending of that book, no spoilers here, but it was so unexpectedly tragic that I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut, and it took me a few days to recover. There's other books that I would describe as heartbreaking that didn't make me feel sad, but that one really did. So, yeah, sometimes. The answer is rarely, but it does happen. So, does the mood of a book affect me? Yes. But a sad book makes me feel happy if it's beautifully done. 4. When you're feeling sad, what do you read? Or what do you not read? And again, I don't really relate to the question. I guess I haven't lost anybody close to me for several years. I haven't had anything personally that's made me feel sad. I struggled with depression when I was a much younger person, and I don't remember how that affected my reading, so I don't really know. But probably I would want to read something sad. I know that I love movies that make me cry because I don't cry easily in my real life. So I'm assuming it would be similar. There's a question coming up about crying from reading. I don't think I would want to read a happy book because I'm feeling sad, but I don't know because I haven't been sad for years. Am I denying something? Am I completely ignoring some aspect of my day-to-day reality? It's possible, people, but let's just keep going, shall we? 5. Most often, do you use reading to escape, to learn, or to critically reflect? Well, I will take issue with my choices, but to escape, like reading silly stuff to escape, is just no. But high quality, highbrow literary fiction helps me escape my lowbrow humdrum life. So that's a form of escape, to lock on to a rich, sad, resonant literary text as a way of forgetting the demeaning things that I have to do to, make a living or whatever. That's, for me, escape. Escape into what matters and ignore all the crap that doesn't. To learn, I don't read nonfiction very much, but I do sometimes, and I certainly Google read everything I read, so I'm always learning stuff by, what does this word mean? What is this historical reference? Any reference to a real life person that I don't know, I will Google it and learn about it. And I think that most of the learning I do is through fiction rather than nonfiction. And to critically reflect, that sounds a little academic for me, so I'm not even going to try to answer that. 6, what is a book that made you laugh out loud? It's rare. I can think of Mappin' Lucia by E.F. Benson, which at various points, I've read it twice. There's a couple scenes in there that are just so funny, tickle my funny bone so much that I'm pretty sure I would have laughed out loud. And otherwise, I never, even if I find something humorous, I don't laugh or giggle, might smile. But there was a scene in this book that I'm halfway done, Tea is So Intoxicating by Mary Essex, that made me laugh. It's a pair of newlyweds. They're middle-aged. They're not that romantic. They're not particularly in love with each other, but the husband has got it in his harebrained brain that he wants to set up a tea house. This is maybe just after World War II in the UK, and he doesn't know how to do anything. He's completely incompetent. But he's got this crazy idea that he and his wife are going to run a tea house in this new town, this little town in the countryside, and he has no aptitude for it. His wife knows he can't cook, he can't boil water, he can't do anything. They invite family friends out for the weekend because he's hoping to ask the man to invest in the tea house. And so our hero cooks dinner for this couple that have come to visit, and it's just a schmozzle. It's a complete fiasco, and that scene of the cooking going wrong and involving cat whiskers, which fell off the nutcrackers that were in the shape of cats with whiskers, and the whiskers fell off into the lobster that the man was cracking with the nutcrackers that had cat faces on them, because he didn't have the right other tool to open the lobster. And there was all these hairbrush style whisker things in the dinner, and the lobster was not fresh, and it went from there. And I did actually laugh out loud, so this is a hoot. 7, what is a book that has made you cry? Or if you don't cry, one that has really moved me. I don't remember that I've ever cried. Rarely, but I have gotten teary. I don't think I've ever cried from anything I've read. I'm a man, even a gay man, even a very deeply emotional gay man. I don't think I've cried in about 30 years. So anyway, the last book that would make normal people cry that I thought was very emotionally powerful was A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza. This was a book that I read for the BookTube prize judging a couple years ago, and I absolutely loved it. It is the story of an Indian Muslim family, immigrants to America, and their family drama was extremely moving. I thought the characters were incredibly lovable, and it was a heartrending tale, and by the end I was just verklempt. I love this book so much. I hope there's another one from Fatima Farheen Mirza coming soon, because this was her debut and it was joyfully sad. 8, what is a book that you don't even know how you felt about? This one, I think I have read a few over the last few years that I would say, I'm going to have to think about this one, but I can't think of what that would be. For the most part, I know exactly how I feel, and I love it, or I hate it, or I think it was so-so, or I bailed on it for any number of reasons, but I have very, very strong opinions, so it's a question that doesn't really resonate for me. There must have been at least one or two in the last 5 years where I thought, I'm not sure how I feel about that, if I liked it or not. I certainly have after I've finished the book, my relationship to the book and kind of processing it and thinking about it can move up or down. I will think more positively or more negatively, but there isn't a book that I don't know how I feel about, and then I just stay stuck in that not knowing. No, I can't relate to that at all. 9. Are you more likely to read on a sunny day or a cloudy day? Well, my first question is, what is weather? There's weather? What is the sun? With only this much of an exaggeration, I am completely oblivious to the weather, just like I am to the seasons and a lot of things that other people really notice in the world. No. Now, bad weather puts me in a good mood because as a farmer's son who didn't really like the farm, if the weather was bad, I could stay in the house and read, play with my dolls. So bad weather will affect me, but it doesn't necessarily make me want to read more or less. So yeah, no, nothing like that. 10. Do you usually set the mood when you read? Music, lights, smells, etc. I care about music. I absolutely don't care about lighting and smells. I guess I have a shower. No. Not to poo-poo anybody else who cares about aromatherapeutics or anything like that, but no, I like to have classical piano music playing and no other kind of music. I used to be able to read listening to any kind of music, and I can't anymore. I think I'm reading more deeply, I don't know, or just I need what few brain cells remain. So I can't listen to vocal music. I can't listen to music that has an instrument like violin or anything. It pulls me out of what I'm reading. But piano music, I listen to all the time that I'm reading, and I have trouble reading with no music playing. If I'm in a noisy cafe, I'm becoming more sensitive to the noise. So I have my headphones on, but classical piano music, the volume goes up and down, so it's not good enough at shutting out the cafe noise. So I listen to white noise music. It's not music, but white noise videos. I have it playing in my headphones, full volume, and then it shuts out all of the stuff. Beyond that, I don't need any other ambience whatsoever. I need a comfortable chair, but that's not a question on this tag. 11. Can you leap from book to book, or do you need buffer time between them? I usually put one book down and within 2 minutes pick up the next book. So no, I always go from book to book. I don't really have book hangovers. A really good book, a book that has really affected me, stays with me, and I think about it a lot, but I go directly to the next book, always have. So that is the Moody Book Tag. Like I say, I don't see that many of my BookTube besties have done the tag, so I'm going to tag widely. I'm also going to throw it open to any of you who I have neglected to tag. If this sounds like a tag for you, please do it. Consider yourself tagged by me, but I'm going to tag Greg at Supposedly Fun, Steve Donahue, Britta Bowler, Mel of Mel's Bookland Adventure, Brian at Bookish, Roz at Scallydandling About the Books, Doris of Aldi Books, Cousin of Always Doing, Lucas of Bits of Lit, Kim at Middle of the Book March, Jer of Drawn to Stories, Ed of Gagging for Lit. I think Karen of Katie Books has done it. Nell and Scott of Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, Mark Nash, Hannah of Hannah's Books, Kathy of Grim Reads, and Heather of Soggy Expat Book Nerd. And any of the rest of you, please do it. Thanks for watching.